Uh, Patricia Collins.
Yeah. I really pay attention.
That's good. I worked really hard on this website. But basically, what she said is that those who are ethnic minorities in the United States, they have a lot of different criteria of challenges to overcome to be able to gain equality or to be able to stand on equal ground with the dominant racial group in the United States. And basically, she said, when say we'll take African Americans or Native Americans, that we should say because this is my group, they face so many different areas where there's challenges that it's hard to overcome that matrix or that web of challenges to be able to get on equal ground with others. So she said there's, when you're in a minority group, there's issues with employment. It's hard to get employment. Healthcare, you're going to have all kinds of health risks that you might not have otherwise. Education, you're not going to be entitled to the same education. Housing problems, family issues will be different. There's often issues with crime. The media often doesn't help a whole lot. And so a few of the things that she points out that Native Americans can relate with is that inside the matrix of domination, employment's a hard thing. If you live on an Indian reservation, there's just not much access to jobs. I mean, what jobs can you think of that would belong on an Indian reservation?
A farmer?
Maybe, yeah, a farmer, which on some reservations you can do, on some maybe not if you're in the desert. Probably, yeah. I guess, yeah. So there's some opportunities, maybe some agricultural possibilities. You could work at a gas station, I don't know. You could try to sell your crafts like they do on the freeway. I've seen that in New Mexico, but really, most reservations are put far away from where you can actually get some good jobs. They're in rural areas out in the middle of nowhere. So that's a problem. At the same time, education isn't the same for them. They don't have the same kind of, public schools and the same funds and those kinds of things to have quality education the way many whites do. And so that hurts employment opportunities also when you don't have the education you need. Now, of course, everyone makes a big deal about, Native Americans, they get scholarships up the wazoo from the government and they get this and that. But it's just really hard to take advantage of those things if you've been disadvantaged from early childhood and not being able to even get through elementary school the way that we would. So there's some problems there as far as health concerns. The age expectancy of Native Americans is quite a bit lower on reservations than the Americans outside. A lot of the reasons, when you're poor and you're in the middle of nowhere, you don't have access to quality foods. You end up eating what you can, which often becomes really unhealthy things. And eating tons of that for a long time, it's caused diabetes issues. Very, very many Native Americans living on Indian reservations are diabetics, which...
But they don't have health care. How can they get insulin?
That's a good question. I'll have to look into that. It also adds an expense. They're already super poor, now they got to pay for insulin, which, your dad has diabetes. How much does that cost?
I don't know. I guess insurance pays for a lot of it, but I'm sure.
Right. So there's that. Of course, there's a big issue with alcoholism on reservations. That causes all sorts of health issues. Native Americans that live on reservations are also much more likely to die in car accidents, and I think a lot of that is alcohol related. So there's all kinds of health risks associated. We know that crime, we talked about crime and how there's tons of violent crime on reservations, especially because their authorities don't have the power to do a lot about it. The media, you can think, as you look back, there's all sorts of instances when the media has portrayed Native Americans in a way that they perhaps didn't want to. Sometimes as savages, as brutes, or whatever. You got old westerns where they're monkeys. Totally. And so you've got, that kind of an issue there. You've also got, sports teams and things like that. I saw a really cool comparison. Um, they were talking about two different teams, the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians, and they're saying, well, you might not think that's a big deal. People say, oh, we're just honoring them by having that as our mascot. But then there was a guy that drew a few pictures of what the Cleveland Indians logo would look like if it was a different race. So he drew the Cleveland Negroes, the Cleveland Asians, and the Cleveland Latinos or Mexicans. And once you lined it up against other races, you saw that you're like, oh, you know what? That's pretty sketchy. So basically, Patricia Collins, she's saying that there's all sorts of different challenges that Native Americans face, and you can tackle one or two of them, but it's hard to overcome an entire set of issues that are stacked against you. One of the last things that we learned, we need to cut this soon because we're going over, but was about the contact hypothesis. So the question is, I'll ask you real quick, how do you think we overcome, I guess, issues of racism and discrimination against Native Americans and against other races in general? Like, how do we overcome that, I guess?
Like, how are we doing it, or what's a good idea?
I guess, what do you think would be a good idea? What are some things that might help?
I think that starting from, the basics from the beginning. I'm a biology education major, so I believe a lot in education. So, starting all races off with the best education possible, I think, is a good way to stop that, because, the more educated you are, the better job you can get, the better able you are to provide for your family.
Right. So, education reform. I think that could be a big part of the solution. One of the cool theories that we learned about that I mentioned real quick was the contact hypothesis, and that's where they basically say if you can get different races, for instance, whites and Native Americans, to work together on a project, get them to have to team up for something, to work together, but not have to compete against each other, and then be able to, I guess, just have them cooperating with each other and communicating with each other all the time, working towards a common goal, that you can get rid of a lot of that mistrust and those misunderstandings, and can learn to empathize with each other in each other's real situations. Some of the movies we mentioned in class was Remember the Titans. Those is one of the it was one of the first integrated sports teams, and you could see how, because they were forced to live together every day, they really got to know each other, and those barriers were kind of broken down. They were working towards something together, so they became a team together. So this is really neat to learn about that. I guess the last question that we have before we cut this off is, can racism be stopped or cured, or what was the... Let's see. Can racism be eliminated? What do you think?
I think that we can do our best to try to eliminate it, but I think as long as there's always different races, there are going to be different forms of racism, because of how people think and how people act, and sometimes how naive and how people don't think about what they say. So, yeah, I think there always will be, but I think that, the world is in the right direction. I'm trying to start
I feel the same way. And I think in a lot of ways that's super valid, because people kind of generally are, they can be easily offended. Sometimes you might say something that you don't think might be offensive, but people take offense. People, I think, a lot of time are naturally a little bit distrustful of others that are very different from them, and so that can breed.
There's a lot of misunderstanding too.
Very true. And at the same time, one of the big things we learned in class was that racism is created a lot of times to justify a social hierarchy. If, like, for instance, if me and the people that are a lot like me, the people I consider to be just like me, if we want to be tops, of course, we want to have the best access to all the important materials in life, then we've got to find a reason to say we need to find a reason to put ourselves there.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, in history, people have looked at the apparent differences between people. Oh, I've got white skin, he's got dark skin, or she's got dark skin. Well, that's a difference. That's something that I can exploit. That's something I can say they're different than me, which means that for whatever reason I'm entitled or I'm better, and I belong in this, in this spot in the hierarchy. And I think that will still be a problem. I think there will still be social competition, but I do think that with getting races together and being able to work together as a team, to be able to educational reforms, things like that. I think there are definitely things that can be done to make it as minute of an issue as possible. So I guess our answer is that it can be fought, it can be successfully fought, but with the nature of people as it is, I think it would be difficult for it to be completely eliminated for the second coming, because Jesus is going to fix all that. And that's basically our discussion. So
you went way over 15 minutes.
I know we're at 23 minutes. Please don't dock us. We're just having a good conversation, and I want to get great in this class. Anyways, yeah, so I learned a lot, and we have an awesome time in Africa.
Bye.
See ya.